where she's going to be talking about how to unlock the true potential of mobile commerce, which I think is very interesting to everybody here, and particularly to myself also, because I want to learn more about how to take advantage of the big lean towards mobile commerce. 61% of traffic on your site is coming from people with their mobile, so we need to be thinking about mobile first, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it myself. So the next speaker is Yolande Steyn, who's an independent consultant, previously with F&B and Vodacom. With 20 years of experience in consulting, financial services and telecoms, Yolande combines a deep love for the technology and business with creativity and her ability to think differently to implement practical, human-friendly digital innovation. She's worked across Africa and India and loves the innovation opportunities that we face in developing markets. So with that, I'd love to welcome Yolande to the stage to talk about mobile commerce.
Thank you, Warren. Okay, hi guys, you have a nice lunch? Yes, okay, this is the worst spot to do anything. So there's tons of sweeties at the back and water if you need to get up, because this is a really, really important topic for us. Today we've heard a lot about customer experience and how that connection that you have with your customers at the heart of what you do. We've heard about AI and all these crazy things that we're doing with data. But where does m-commerce fit in? Where does the M of commerce fit in? So firstly, let's just take a quick look at e-commerce. I mean, I know we're not going to bore each other with stats, but the reality is, even though we've seen a 25% increase in e-commerce in the last 12 months, this from World.Works, if you look at the line, it's still linear, guys. I thought we were in an exponential world. What's happening? It's all about fourth industrial revolution, but we need to find a way of making e-commerce go beyond the less than 2% that it currently is. And I'm sure mobile should be it. And the thing is it just me, or has the world gone completely friggin' berserk around us? It's not just about ESCOM. And apparently our diesel's finished as well, guys, so let's not panic. But around us, there is all these amazing tools that we can use. You have Facebook Marketplace and Facebook Shop, you've got Instagram, you have machine learning, you have platforms that creates the instant ability to go e-commerce. I've recently had to start up my own little business at home. I'm starting this little thing at home. And these days you can build a website and get your e-commerce site up and running in a day or two. We've got payment integrations happening. It's all there. So what is the limits that we are facing that is not enabling us to really exponentialize our sales and our numbers? So, firstly, let's just get back to basics. So before I even speak about m-commerce, and I think before we even speak about e-commerce, we have to make sure we get the basics right. And I'm actually surprised that not more people have spoken about this. So it was interesting earlier today, we had some interesting stats coming up around some of our speakers around the stuff people really struggle with. If you look at sentiment analyses, often the things people struggle with e-commerce and purchasing stuff on e-commerce is all about the physical stuff. It's about the fact that you can't deliver on time. It's the fact that when I phone your call center, you don't pick up the phone. It's the fact that the product that you promised me you had, you don't have anymore. But let's assume this is an ideal world, and let's assume that we have everything in place to create a brilliant commerce experience for our customers. You have a brilliant product, which customers want. You have customers who want to buy that product. You've got your website up and running, and you have your payments up and running, and you can do Bitcoin, e-wallet, e-bucks, everything. You have everything ready. So before we even get to e-commerce, before we get to m-commerce, just ask yourselves, can I deliver the light? Because nothing, and this is just a little forethought from my side, nothing you do from here onwards is going to help unless you think about the essential experience you create for your customers. And this is a common theme that we have to hang on to. And it's wonderful when we have so many tech startups thinking about e-commerce in a new and fresh way. But the reality is many of us work in big organizations that have been doing what they've been doing for 20, 30, 40 years, and now want to bring e-commerce in as that exponential lift to their business. And then we have a real problem because bringing customer delight is often related to, oh hell, can my legacy systems actually deliver? I have a warehouse that's been delivering product to shops for years, but can I pack a box with a pretty picture and the sprinkles on top and deliver to an individual customer with delight? So, okay, so let's assume we have all of that in place. Let's assume we are rocking when it comes to getting a product to the customer as all the pretty sprinkles and glitter and stuff and unicorns and things girls love on top. So, let's look at mobile. It is so exciting what is happening in the mobile world. Last year alone, we shipped 13.5 million smartphones in South Africa. And the numbers are very, very similar in Africa. 51% of all phones in the South African market now are smartphones. Even better, 70% of unique browsers are coming from a mobile source. So more and more we need to understand that our interactions with customers are not on a fancy MacBook you've got in front of you, or the beautiful laptop you get from your work. It's coming from a mobile phone. And you have to think mobile first. And we've been hearing this for years. You have to think mobile first. So awesome, I have the product, I have the customer delight sorted, I have a pretty box, I've got the sprinkles on top, and now I've got the mobile phones in the market. It's there, it's ready to go exponential. And some of us have already seen that coming in the rest of the world. Digital marketing tools, spreading the word out of there, goes straight into my app, straight to the customer, straight to my product, and all I have to do is press a button and it sells. It is gorgeous. I have video, I have everything I believe I need for my customer to be purchasing on mobile. But what is the behavior we start seeing? So we have our market, we have our set of customers. So let me kind of take out my crystal ball and I say, probably what you start seeing is you start seeing downloads. Many, if not most of those downloads are from your current customers who are on desktop and they want the app experience. You probably see a deeper engagement with your customer. So your customers engaging with multiple different interfaces. They're on desktop or they're on your phone, but you're still seeing the same customers. You are seeing a trickle of new customers, and some stay and some don't. But you are not getting that our app has to be the biggest interface in the company experience that you want. You are not seeing the exponential effect that should be happening, when it comes to mobile. And then you start wondering why. And the big thing is, we realize that this is Africa. So this is a term that we often use, but you have to realize that the fact of the matter is, in our current space where we're at, we have some very, very specific needs, specific behaviors that we can start pinpointing when it comes to the developing markets. So yes, 13.5 million smartphones shipped last year, and 61% of them cost less than $1,500. So guys, if you're testing your apps, and if you're testing your sites on your beautiful Samsungs, your beautiful iPhones, and your wonderful, gorgeous phones, you're testing on the wrong phones. You're building for the wrong phones. You're building for the wrong interfaces. Because the reality is that even though the market is 100% committed to smartphones, the phones that we're getting aren't 100% committed to the type of environments being created for those phones. You cannot take a typical building approach to building for mobile. So if you take your Shopify and you take your fancy apps, you have to take into account that there are some real big challenges that you face when it comes to phones that's being shipped into Africa. Firstly, our screen real estate is half of your typical high-end smartphone. Your resolution is low, your pixel rates are low, often the touch screens don't work very well. The quality of the materials that's used, it has to be a cheap phone. So yes, you will not get a Gorilla Glass phone. How often have you seen phones being used by guys that the screens are smashed? They don't have the money to replace those screens. Small screens, materials inferior, your RAM is so low, your processing power of those phones is so low that you probably can only run a couple of really important apps on that phone. Your local storage is low, so you cannot download a number of phones. And let's not even get to the operating systems. So yes, it's Android. You guys can hear me. So yes, it's all Android. But there's over 30,000 different instances of Android running on different phone models worldwide. How the hell do we test for that? We have all these different OEMs providing and building onto Android, creating specific Android instances for themselves. You have brand overlays happening. You know, when your network goes, hello, I have XYZ network, and this is an XYZ network phone. So there's white label phones. You have Chinese brands being flooded into the market that come from a variety of different suppliers, a variety of different operators, and we cannot test for that. We can't even plan for that. So how does it look like? I mean, this is a good example. So this is just a comparison of the phone I use, which is the Samsung S9, so it's not even a brand new phone anymore, and a typical Chinese model. Now that model was shipped into Zambia, but it's very similar to your Kekas and your Smart Aces that's being shipped to South Africa. You have half the screen size, almost half the screen size. Your resolution is low. And I don't know if has anybody ever tried running an application on these phones. It is slow and it's almost impossible to get it to work properly. So when you build, what are you building for? Are you building for the 2% with the beautiful, smashing, gorgeous phones that we use? Because we are not target market here. Or are we building to 61% of the market? The second thing is our users have a very specific way of behavior around how they use their phones because of what data is done and what the cost of data is doing in our market. Now the reality is most of our mass market users will probably not switch their data on at all, not when they're out and about. They will try and find Wi-Fi hotspots, and unfortunately in South Africa our Wi-Fi hotspot and our free Wi-Fi hotspot is not consistent. It's not as if it's everywhere. So they're going to try and do this shopping, they're going to try and do their browsing on Wi-Fi. They are incredibly stingy with data. And they will probably only buy their data through data bundles that are specific to applications. So your Facebook bundles and your WhatsApp bundles. With WhatsApp being contained because they will prioritize how they spend the really, really expensive data. Now, if you so. So we are not the most expensive market when it comes to data cost at a per meg perspective. But what we do have is that in Africa, the percentage of income that people have to spend on that data is much, much higher. So it's not the relative cost when it comes to one country against the other, it's the cost when it comes to what it means to me in terms of how much of my hard-earned money do I have to spend to be able to download an app. So let's take a 100 meg app. Now, that's a pretty big app if you look at it, but if you are building a nice rich environment, you've got lots of functionality, you have a lot of elements, you now have a lot of digital marketing overlays, your app starts getting bigger and bigger. If you take it, let's take a 100 meg app, for example. In South Africa, average cost 38 for 100 megs. What does that mean? It's a loaf of bread and a bottle of milk. This is food we're talking about. This is real to people in South Africa, where I have to decide whether I'm going to buy food or top up data. And that's why data is such a hot topic in South Africa, because it touches people's pockets in places that we are not aware of. That's why it is so emotional, because we have made it necessary to own data so that people can communicate, but then we have apps that leak data, steal data. And if you're not sensitive to that, they will take your app off their phone. They will not visit your website. So if you, next time you launch a beautiful product and it's full of video, how many of the customers you're targeting will actually be watching that video or clicking on that link? Because they are worried about what it's going to do to their data usage. Very, very, very real issues. And the last issue is not necessarily for me a mobile issue, but it's very real to a South African issue and an African issue. So this is a stat that confounded me. This is 2016, I think. 54% of South African online shoppers prefer to pay with cash. And the reality is we still have a severe distrust of online payment systems in South Africa. It's everything from I'm terrified to put my card details in, to just that in a usability or the non-usability of using payment systems and payment providers. So sometimes we look at things and we think it's easy, but it's still pretty complicated. If you're a new digital user and you're kind of scared in using your card, for example, it's when a 3D secure screen pops up and you have to wait for an SMS and the script is so small and the button's this tiny, and it's just really hard. We do not make it easy. And even though we are getting better at payments, and we're seeing better adoption of payments and electronic payments in South Africa, we still haven't cracked it when it comes to mass market. And even worse is that 40% of the South African workforce is still being paid their wages in cash flow. So yes, you want to get the masses to come to your market. You want them to come to your app. You want them to download your app and use your app every day and buy on your app. But if they can't transact, what's the point? So, just a couple of learnings from my perspective. When it comes to designing for mobile, it is an absolute science. We spoke about the CX and the customer experience first thing this morning around the psychology of engaging with a brand. And engaging with a brand on mobile is exactly the same. And when we first started e-commerce, if we want to call it that, or e-commerce, we were doing it on SMS. We did banking on SMS. And then we did banking on USSD. And now we're doing banking on apps. Same with e-commerce. But the same principles apply. Every hurdle you put in front of a customer, you are going to lose a percentage. Every single time your site or your app does not work, they will never come back. And for some bizarre reason, mobile users are even more sensitive to that. So if your app doesn't work the first time, they're gone. Take the app off and come back. So first thing, make sure your low-end devices work as well as your high-end devices. I don't care how you do it, there are different ways. You can create a light version, so absolutely separate app for those phones. You can PWA, there's a lot of different options that we don't have time to discuss today. But make sure you have designed for the common denominator and not the fancy phone that you as an early adopter keep in your pocket. Every time you publish an update, every time you put a video up, every time you put media down, think of what it will cost your customer in real terms. If you have an app that you update monthly or weekly or daily, then I'm not going to download it, I'm going to uninstall it, it's gone. Be absolutely critical around performance. It has to work every time, it has to be quick, it has to load quickly. Performance is the stuff that we don't see. It's stuff that sits on servers and bright lights and funny code. This is where you make or break your experience. Think experience. Keep it simple as possible, whether it be 3 screens, 1 screen, 1 click. But do realize that user experience is not something your techie does when you build the app. It's a science in psychology. We spoke about micro moments earlier today, and micro moments of delight is the thing that hooks the customer to come back time and again. But I implore you, when you do your designs and you build your apps, the UX is your most important part of what you do, and it hooks into that entire customer experience journey that you're trying to do. But when you're doing it for small screens, even more important, big buttons, no fields. If you start asking customers to do 4, 10 fields to fill in before they can even check out, what's the point? 1-click buttons, shortcuts, make it really, really, really easy. Just always remember how big their phone is that the customer's holding in their hands. I wish we had a case study here of Jumia because it's such an interesting company. Jumia being Africa's first unicorn, they're looking currently to list on the New York Stock Exchange, e-commerce company out of Nigeria. So hopefully all of you have heard of them. If you haven't, go read about them. And what they've done right is they've found a way for people to trust. And when the trust wasn't there, they went and manufactured it. They created their own logistics. And they pioneered cash on delivery. So with Jumia, you can easily pay with cash when you get your product. Because they understood that in Africa, that is a reality that is not going to leave us soon at all. So that element of trust is something that is implicit with this psychological relationship that you build with your customer. So remember, everything is about a relationship that you have with your customer. And the last thing, from my perspective, it's always make sure that it's help at hand. We're always very good on our desktop and our full sites to have a lot of contact us options, help, chats, live chat, WhatsApp chat. But what we do on a mobile phone, we often leave that off. And that's where they need us the most when it comes to help. So always make sure that with the mobile device helps at hand. I don't know if you saw the video, 80% of mobile users will complete a sale if they know that there's Q&A or FAQ or help at hand on the mobile. So lastly, my parting thought is, guys, it's all about the experience. But you have to take into account who your customer is and what are they holding in their hands. Don't make assumptions. Use data to track that. It is easy to do. Know your customer and know what they use so you can design to it. The smartest tools and the fanciest AI is not going to help you if they're not even downloading your app. Thank you very much. Any questions? Are we doing questions? One question. Sorry, I know we need to be more.
With respect to mobile conversions, we all know that the conversion rate is lower than desktop. But do you have any insights to why that is from your opinion?
I think from my perspective, the experience that you create on mobile is much more sensitive than on desktop. I think we're a lot more forgiving when it comes to large formats like their desktop or websites. But your mobile user is just not forgiving in the least. As I said earlier, it's something I've seen time and time again. If something goes wrong on mobile, people just abandon it. They leave you, they just go. And I think it's still relevant now, and that's probably the biggest reason why mobile conversion is always lower than on desktop. Yes?
My name's Matthew. This is more of a statement than a question. I work in a lot of design studios, and more often than not, people are still not testing designs, they still don't test on the actual mobile devices. So browser emulation is not an option. I agree with you, and it's about literally buying a device, sticking a 3G card, and testing that screen. That's the only way forward.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, it's relatively easy. You can track what browsers are using your site or your app, so you should have a good idea of at least the top 80% of devices that's utilizing your services. You need to have those photos in hand. You can't do it, as you say, with emulators. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for that great talk. I really enjoyed some of those points, and specifically towards the end where you spoke about trust and how Jumia had developed so much trust with their customers, where they recognized that paying in cash was something that their customers wanted, and that's what they needed to be offering. So interestingly, we have at my academy, we have students who have similar challenges where you're selling to the mass market and the customers want to pay cash, or they don't want to pay online, or they don't have means to pay online. So something that we've taught people to do is to make use of the payment option called Scope, which is available through PayFast or PayGate, and that allows customers to place an order on your site, check out, place the order, then go pay in cash or however at checkout. And once the payment is done, then you get a notification to say the order is done, and you can release it. So that's something that we can use to bridge that gap when people need to still pay offline or they don't want to pay online. And the element of trust is a very critical point of e-commerce, and the next talk is titled